you're more than welcome to this, another episode of the Coffee to Levitt Show, brought to you by Wigwam and supported by Limerick Post, hashtag Limerick and Proud, keeping Limerick posted. And it's my great pleasure to have you all here today, but indeed our greatest pleasure to have our special guest in the hot seat today, and that is Emma Jane Clarke. Emma Jane, you're more than welcome. Say hello, cheers us with your coffee mug.
Good morning, everybody, and cheers. I'm delighted to be here, and even more delighted with that meditation moment after Michelle's declaration of 18 million people. I definitely needed that space to go, okay, no pressure. So good morning.
Emma Jane, you know the story, there are lies, damn lies and statistics. And we just leave it at that, but it is shared out every week, and the figure is exactly as it was last week. Likely to grow this week, let's be honest. Let me just explain a little bit about Emma Jane before we bring herself in. Emma Jane Clarke, business name Martinstown Lodge. What does your business do? Equine supported empowerment and leadership development, established since 2020, and 1.5 employees. Love that. That the mind boggles. Emma Jane goes on to say that she works as a senior leader in a semi-state agency. Outside of this, she also runs a small equestrian farm with her partner at Martinstown Lodge, located outside Athboy, County Meath. They've established an innovative leadership and career coaching development centre at Martinstown Lodge using the unique technique of equine supported coaching. Emma Jane is passionate about working with people to help them realise their dreams and full potential, and she's qualified a qualified experienced professional coach, qualifying from Kingstown College with two coaching diplomas, a proven track record in helping numerous people successfully develop their businesses, careers and secure new positions. And she goes on to say this work with the horses, which I'm really fascinated by, where there is no horse riding involved, even more intriguing, right? Challenges people to think differently in a natural and safe space for learning. It's a proven effective method that gets to the core of issues powerfully and effectively. And Emma Jane offers the service to other coaches and their clients, which provides an effective and impactful mechanism to gain deep insights into all aspects of their clients, or all aspects, I should say, of their clients. And this in turn helps them on their transformational journey. It's all about transformation. Now here it's really interesting, right? Not to say the last bit wasn't, okay? Something nobody knows about Emma Jane. She says, there's very little people don't know about me, but I have an irrational fear of steep slopes, even though I used to rock climb. There you go. Explain that one, why don't you? And wait to hear this, it gets even better, right? I have several chainsaw certificates from my days as the first female forest harvesting foreman in the UK. And there's first and probably a last on the Coffee to Levitt Show. And we were talking earlier jokingly about juggling chainsaws. So that's the reference there. Emma Jane, it's lovely to have you here. Lovely to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you, Colin. Thank you. Delighted to be here. And thank you for that very eloquent and lovely introduction.
Oh, sure. Come here. It's my pleasure indeed. But it's lovely to have you here. Here's where it changes, however, right? Because we've lured you here with the false pretense that we're going to talk about your business. We will eventually, right? But we can Google your business today. We can Google Martinstown Lodge, and we will. Eamon's going to put the links in there. But what we'd like to do is get to know you a little, if that's okay. And of course, we have the mammy in the room, right? So if we do any fact checking, we can, and the sister. If we can do any fact checking, we can go there, right? And the brother, perhaps. Anyways, it's wonderful to have you all here. Emma Jane, please, if you wouldn't mind, bring us back, let us know little Emma Jane.
Thank you, Colin. As you've introduced, my name's Emma Jane, and my mother, Dorothy, is here, as well as my sister. So as you say, they'll be able to fact check everything that I'm about to say, although Mom might not know all of it. So that's my health warning. So I am originally from Celbridge in County Kildare. I grew up in the countryside, an absolute agricultural child whose parents were looking at me probably going, where did we get her from? I'm number 4 of 5 children. Quite significant gaps between age. My younger sister Amanda is 6 years younger than me, and I think my older brother Connor is about 7 years older than me. So we had 2 kind of mini families growing up. So we grew up in Celbridge, and I had the privilege, I suppose, of growing up in the countryside before Celbridge was developed, a mile outside the village, and spent my time playing in the fields, playing on the Liffey. Actually, Mom doesn't know this, but I actually did take a canoe one time and go off on the Liffey before I learned to swim. So that's my first admission there. So, and I managed to convince my parents to let me have horses. When I was growing up, I used to run down every time I'd hear a neighbour go by with their horse. I'd grab my helmet, run down to the gates and sit on the gate post, hoping one day that somebody would let me ride their horse. And so optimism and consistency on that one from me. So eventually I used to adopt horses that were rescue horses and nobody else could ride, and just had people over where we could keep our horses over in Leixlip. But I suppose my first horse that I actually owned, the story there was that we went to Baltinglass on a day out of a Sunday, as you did. My grandmother, my mother and my father. My mother and my grandmother allegedly went to the shops. I actually still think to this day it was to the local imbibing facility. They went to a pub and they came back, left my father and myself unsupervised at a horse sales. So you can see where this is going. So my father, I managed to convince him to buy me a horse while mom wasn't there. We had no intention of buying a horse. We had no land, no head collar and no transport. And mom comes back with my grandmother, allegedly from the shop, to see this horse being loaded up into a lorry and actually rearing up and falling over backwards out of the lorry. So my mother...
All I can say is she's got nobody else to blame, you know. Left you alone with your dad.
She did. And
nothing else could happen.
My poor father, though, Colin, he thought he was doing a really good thing, which he did. It turned out to be the most amazing horse. But of course, every time there was an argument, it was you bought her that horse. I was in complete shock that I actually got what I wanted. So they had to actually give me a bit of whiskey. I was only 14 years old, I think, because I was in complete shock that I actually got what I wanted. So there was, so I basically moved on from there. But the one thing my parents taught me was that we always worked for what we had. So from the day I had that horse, I used to cycle from Selbridge to Newcastle to Leixlip. I worked in the Setanta, what was the Setanta House Hotel, and they never had to pay 1 penny for that horse. I worked all through up until to university. So, you know, I really, really taught me the value of how you earn your own keep. And I was very privileged to be gotten the horse. But yeah, so that's kind of a...
That's a lovely picture. Two quick parallels, if I may. One is we lived in Selbridge too, for about 8 years. Manor, not Manor, can't think of it anyway. Out right beside the Setanta House Hotel, and our daughter also got into horses when we were out there. But when we were living in Coolock on the north side of Dublin, right, she wanted a horse. She was like little Emma Jane. Can I have a horse? And we said, of course, we were trying to be politically correct. We said, of course. Then we thought it was all acting. But where could we keep the horse? And she said, that's easy, because we were living in an estate. She said, that's easy, over by the church where they keep all the other horses, which just paints a picture of north side Dublin back in the early 1990s, right? It you know, agricultural land it wasn't. Come here, that's wonderful stuff. I loved the thing about you sitting on the gate, basically imploring the universe to give you a go on a horse. And it's wonderful that your journey with horses started all those years ago, and that you're in your absolute bliss now, I would imagine, doing the work you do. But before we go there, go back to Selbridge, go back to school. What was school like for Emma Jane? Were you good?
I was good. Well, I was good. I did have a little blip when I was in secondary school. My father had a bit of, I shouldn't think, mom's definitely going to kill me. My father had, I was a good student. I was very studious, and I never actually snuck out, mitched off or anything. I was your epitome of very well behaved, except for a slight little blip where I took my father's poitín into school and gave it to everybody to have a taste. So, as you could imagine, that didn't go very well. So that was my only blip. And I wouldn't mind, I didn't drink until I was 18. So it was pure naivety. But my poor father was chairman of the parents' committee, and he had to resign. Mom took to her bed for a day or two. Sorry, Mom. So apart from that, I was a very good student. Not the I had to work for everything I had, but I'm moving swiftly on from that story.
You are, yeah, well done. Good recovery, good recovery.
I had, yeah, sorry.
No, come here. It's a great story. And what I love about that is, yeah, I was good, except for I had my dad have to resign, and I fed all the kids drink. But apart from that, I was great, you know. Lovely. And please tell me that was secondary. Oh, you were 14. That was secondary school. Okay.
Yeah.
What about college? Did you make it to college?
I did, believe it or not. And in truth, when I was a kid, I spent all my time, my parents were from the south of Dublin and they moved out to Salbridge. And I spent all my time as a kid herding cattle as well. This is the reason why I'm telling you this. My favorite hobby was herding the cows from the fields. I can see you shaking your head, Colin. So this put up a really good, I suppose, segue into, I actually did a degree in agriculture in UCD. So I went to UCD for 4 years, and to say I stuck out like a sore thumb in ag college would be an understatement. I had rings in my nose, I had dreads, I had blue streaks in my hair, and I was in with a whole load of farmers who were thinking, who is your one? She doesn't have a farm, she's not from farming, she's studying farming. So yeah, UCD.
Yes, you painted a picture there that I can't get my head around, except for the rings in the nose. I was thinking there's a link to cattle there somehow. I've seen that.
I've been called worse.
No, forgive me. That was a poor attempt at drawing a connection, because apart from that, there is none. Tell me, so you did ag college, and was it because of your fetish for herding cattle?
It was
your favorite thing to do was herd cattle.
Yeah, I know, as a child. Yes, but I also wanted to be a nun at one stage. So, I mean, really, there's quite a lot of, you can tell there's a lot of zigzagging through life. So, yeah, I did agriculture, and I specialised in forestry because I had such a passion for the outdoors. And the reason why I chose forestry was because I nearly got thrown out of college because I'm vegetarian, much to my mother's dismay. And when it came to first year, we had to choose where we were going to go to second year, and they wanted me to dissect animals. So I refused. So they said, if you don't dissect the animals, you're going to be thrown out. And so I said, well, look, I'll do forestry, so you can't make me do it. So I was a bit disillusioned when I went to university, because I thought that people would be really kind of, you know, sticking up for their values and their beliefs and you know, kind of true to what they believed in life. But actually, they weren't really any different than school. And I found myself standing out even more because I really believe on, I believe in what I believe in, and I'm not going to compromise my values if it's not, you know, gonna. So yeah, I'm quite a principled child.
But you're quite a principled adult. You know, it's very obvious that you're very focused. It's very obvious that you're very hardworking. It's very obvious that you've had a fabulous and varied upbringing. And you're bringing all of that to bear in the work you do these days. That's my sense of it. You know, we can only help people from where we are ourselves. So I think it would have seemed to me that you've got a huge amount to offer through all of your life experiences that you can bring to bear in the work you do today. So it's fabulous stuff. Let's talk about juggling chainsaws, back to forestry and chainsaw certificates. I mean, you know, you're dare I say it, a woman. You're the first.
Thank you for noticing.
No, hang a second. But by your own admission, you're the first female foreman.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us about that. That sounds amazing.
Well, I suppose firstly, thanks for that. And I have the privilege of an amazing upbringing by parents who gave me all the framework and the basis of self-belief. And that has, you know, for all of us, has set us up in life. So, you know, I was incredibly privileged and lucky, and don't take that for granted. With regard to the forestry, I remember being really annoyed with my father because when I went into forestry, people actually said to me, but you can't do that because you're a woman. And I remember being really annoyed with my parents going, nobody told me before that I couldn't do something because I was a female. How come my parents never gave me this memo? I had no idea that that was out there in the world. So yeah, it was quite a shock. But I went on I moved to Scotland, and I lived in Scotland for 10 years, and I worked with the Forestry Commission, and I was the first woman in Scotland, or in the UK, sorry, in the United Kingdom, to actually be a harvesting foreman. They didn't have four-person or four women because they didn't exist. So that was character building beyond, and actually has made me who I am today, because by God, do you need to stand up for yourself out in that industry. So yeah. And I was pretty bad with chainsaws, I'm not going to lie. I mean, if I had to make my living cutting trees down every day, I would be a lot thinner. I'd have lost the 8 stone that Michelle mentioned earlier because I wouldn't have been able to afford to eat. So yeah, Scotland, 10 years.
Unbelievable. That is unbelievable. So paint a typical day. Like you rock up in a Jeep full of wearing the gear and a hard hat, I have to assume, and harnesses. And what, a clipboard, and tell fellas what to do?
You'd rock up at about 7 in the morning, minus 14, with about 6 foot snow in the winter, in a little car that did not have 4-wheel drive, where you would hope for the best and aim to get up the hill to get into the woodlands. I used to have sand and a shovel in the back of the car, so I'd go and self-grit the roads. My sisters had experience of me rally driving around the woodlands. Then I would go and try and find the machinery where with no mobile phones, no anything. I'd go into the woods. I'd hopefully find the guys, do all the planning or whatever. And then I'd return back. And my biggest tip when you're lost in the wood is pick a drain and just follow it, because you just hope to God you're going in the right way. And when you get to the road, the other one is, do you go left or right to your car? And 9 times out of 10, I'd find where I was. I mean, these woodlands could be 12 miles long, I'm talking miles in the UK, and 6 miles wide. There would be a chance that you would not get back to your car. And yeah, so that's what I do. Very, very harsh weather conditions. And yeah, go out and work with the guys and get chainsaws thrown at me and little tantrums, and, you know, good guys. You just stand up for yourself. Don't mess with the Clarke woman. That's all I'm telling you.
Ooh, there you go. Go Dorothy. Go Dorothy. the inner Dorothy. You channel your inner Dorothy and nobody will mess with you. That sounds absolutely phenomenal. And thank you for the advice, because I do a bit of hill walking. So if I ever get lost, it's follow the drain. Find a drain and follow it, because it'll always lead you somewhere. Okay, nice one. That actually sounds phenomenal though. And so how were you viewed on day one? When you rocked up to your first site in the forest, right? You got out of your little car.
I was what they called me as was a equine. So in Aberdeenshire, where I worked, they spoke a language called Doric. So it would be basically it would be kind of colloquialism. So I think actually they referred to me as the hefty quiney. So I think you can imagine what that meant. Yeah. So I learned to speak Doric in a Dublin accent, and the lads I just spent most of the first year just laughing when they laughed and not when they didn't, because I hadn't got a clue what anyone was saying. So they'd speak broad Doric to me, and then they'd just go, oh Jesus, and then they'd speak normal English, because they give up trying to actually communicate. So it was very challenging. It was a very beautiful place to live, but very isolating. The first place I lived was 12 miles out on a single track road, up another dirt track looking out onto the islands on the west coast of Scotland, remote beyond anything. So picture it. When I said about the university, I had the rings in the nose, the dreads. I used to rollerblade around Dublin City, you know, looking like Pippi Longstocking. And I arrived into Scotland, into that, with my rollerblades, and promptly put them away. So I was like...
You'd be found in one of those drains if you'd rocked up like that.
Well, I did. I just learned, you know, I was very, I suppose I was alternative when I was growing up and how I dressed. But it was more of an expression of who I was. You know, I remember someone saying to me, do you actually dress up in the morning, get up in the morning and dress like that on purpose? And again, I was quite shocked, because I'd never been around people who actually judged how I looked, you know, and it wasn't for getting attention. It was more, this is an expression, like, you know, Tim with his colors, it's an expression of who I am. So I found another way of expressing how I was, and that was actually allowing my personality to come out instead. You know, I would have been quite shy. I don't know what happened since then, but I would have been quite shy. So yeah.
Well, you know, it's a really lovely way to describe yourself, which is all of it, including now, but including when you were the hefty guiney. Is that what you said?
Quiney. quiney. Yeah.
Freudian slip there. Hefty quiney. But it was all an expression of you, you know, and Tim Kelly expressed himself through colour and awful jokes. I mean, you know, it all comes together. I just think it's wonderful. You're absolutely unique. So join the dots now for us. Go from, you know, the west coast of Scotland, and you've painted a beautiful picture for us, and that really masculine environment, dare I say it. It has to have been. So you must have stood out like a sore thumb. I presume they developed a huge respect for you. You became a legend. I have to admit. I have to assume.
Yes, I did, because I didn't put up with anything, and you know, I needed to be respected. Respect is earned, not just given. It. You know, I don't believe in that hierarchical thing. It's like, I'm here as a decent person trying to do a good job. I respect you, and I do expect the same. You know, I have earned it. I've earned it hard. So, you know, in the hard way. So, yeah, I was respected. And I moved down then to a place called Clarke, where we worked in very disadvantaged communities where there was massive coal bins, and we would knock the coal bins down and actually create community woodlands. So that was really important work as well. So I kind of moved from the commercial into the more conservation, the more community development, which paves the way how I am, where I am now in my career. Because I loved forestry, I loved the outdoors, but I missed people, and I missed helping people. And that really is my fundamental drive. So
that's a lovely segue, because you've just brought us down from the Highlands, if you like, into, what was the name of this place?
Clarke.
Clarke. And you mentioned a word, is it cobblings? Did I pick up that correctly?
I don't know, actually. I never listened to myself, Colin.
You went into these, I thought you said colbings or something like that, and you...
Colbings, apologies, yes. So it would have been a mining community and very disadvantaged. So the coal bins would have been massive, big heaps of coal that we'd knock down and integrate the community in creating opportunities to be active in their locality. Very, very, very disadvantaged areas. Sometimes had to have police protection going into some of them. So it was quite a change from the Highlands to, yeah.
Wow, incredible. But it really did provide a lovely segue into the work you're doing now. It's all beginning to fit now, if that makes sense. Yeah. How long did you spend there? When did you come back to Ireland?
I spent a couple of years. So I was 10 years in Scotland, but I always wanted to come home. I was probably the last person to leave, you'd think would leave. And I, you know, as a forester in Ireland, there were no female foresters and there were no managers under the age of 40. So I was like, well, I'm going away to get my experience and come back. So when I came back, I decided, like, someone said to me, oh, well, there's more females working in forestry now. And I thought, you know what? I'm not starting again. I worked my way up in Scotland. I worked damn hard for where I was, and I was not going to start again at the bottom of the pile. Quite ambitious, but ambitious to be the best that I could be, not ambitious, you know, over anyone else. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to go diversify in my career. So I got a position in Leader, which is European funding and community and agricultural development. And oh my God, I love that job so much, because it was helping people, you know, diversify, innovate and create new businesses and help them with support through European funding. So it was like all that experience I had come together now to actually start on that journey of helping people. So I did that for 5 years and absolutely loved it. Would have stayed, except I wanted the CEO's job. So he wasn't going anywhere, so I decided to go around him.
No chainsaws involved, I hope, no?
No, around, not through.
There's a couple of things. I just have to stop you there. We come back to that in a second, right? A couple of things that are just shining through here, right? And I love the way you honor your parents for the hard work and self-belief that they taught you. That's palpable. It's oozing out of every pore of you. You described yourself as a forester. I'm still struggling to sort of square that circle in my head, right? You know, I'm looking at you now and thinking this woman's actually a forester, or has been in the past. I again loved the fact that you were in the Highlands, in the woodlands, right, and you came all the way down and you got into community work, and then you got involved in Leader, and you know, when you said it, the passion came out of you. You said, I love that role, right? But then the ambition, but as well as that, the ambition came into the fore, and you said, well, I'm not hanging around here. So you've now, you didn't rev up the chainsaw, but you worked around this individual. Tell us more.
So again, another career path. I suppose for me, career is like a game of chess. So it was. Now I've reached the end of my chess game, as it were. But for me, it was about moves, lateral moves, moves forward, move backwards, and just to try and play with where I wanted to be in life. You know, this isn't for me. It's never been about money. It's been about doing something that I'm really passionate about, something I really believe in, and something that actually contributes and makes a difference. So, so I basically got offered a job with skill nets at a national level, or I got into Sport Ireland. So with sport, I kind of had to weigh up the two. And again, quality of life, I didn't want to commute very far. So Sport Ireland was the position that I decided to take. And I've been there for the last quite a significant amount of years, actually. And again, with that role, it's so diverse. It's so impactful for communities that it's actually kept my attention and kept me there for as long as I've stayed there for now. Yeah.
Fantastic. And from a previous conversation you and I had, Emma Jane, there's a reasonable sized budget attached to the work you do.
Yeah, absolutely. We have multiple. I suppose my portfolio now is quite diverse. So I look after everything nationally, from women in sport to outdoor sports to disability sports to sports for older adults, and as local sports partnerships as well, of which there's one in every county in Ireland. And they're tasked with basically reducing barriers and increasing participation for people into sport and physical activity. And really people who aren't active tend to be from the lower socio-economic education disadvantage. So about 5 years ago, so my budget was about 6-7 million 5 years ago. And John Tracy, actually the CEO, did me a great favor one day. I think my mom learned this very young: don't tell me I can't do something. So what happened was dormant account funds came in and they said, look, would you like to start investing in sport? Here they gave us 1.5 million. And I basically said, John said, there's no way. He knew what he was doing. He said, no way you're going to make that work. And I went, oh. So I took that 1.5 million and I've grown it to 10 million now. In addition to my budget. So it's over about 20 million, my budget in total, that we look after. And it's about, again, delivering at a local level to actually impact and strategically affect change. So not piloting and pushing money into disadvantaged communities and leaving, putting in sustainable structures that people can actually be physically active after we go, and that actually helps their mental health, their physical health, and all that kind of stuff. So,
do you know, we call that in the Coffee at 11 show, Emma Jane, we call that 100-year work, my dear. And that is 100-year work. If you're impacting grassroots individuals in areas like that, the impact that will have on their children and their grandchildren means that the work you're doing today will have a ripple effect 100 years from now. So Bula Boss, I saw it rippling through the cafe there a little moment ago. Come here, it's such a rich story. It's just wonderful. And you know, we can see it in you. My goodness, you're a capable woman. You're a capable individual. You're a capable individual. Incredible stuff. Martinstown Lodge, little side hobby of an equine centre and a farm in Athboy, right? As you do, like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tell us more.
Well,
2020, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, we moved to Martinstown Lodge about 3 years ago. And actually, I think it's worth kind of sharing how we got there. So I was living in a mid-terrace in Kilcock, a little home, and it was lovely and it serviced its needs. But I always wanted my own land. I always was in awe of people that owned their own land and their own place and what you could do with it and all the added value and everything. But I never really went for it. I was actually, to be honest with you, I was scared. Oh, there's a picture of me. So I was scared of going for my dream. And I'm scared of my dream because I had this innate and I didn't know fear of failure. So I never failed at anything I did. Now, in fairness, I've actually embraced that and understand that failure is about development, about growth, and about change. So what happened was, about 4 years ago, I had a significant horse riding accident that came out of nowhere. I was running 10 kilometers. I was very fit, kickboxing, getting on with life, doing really well. And I had a lesson on my horse, and over the first jump, I actually laughed because she jumped so big, but she jumped so big, I actually couldn't get back in the saddle. and I tried to hang on for too long and I ended up smashing into the fence. Anyway, long story short, got up, walked, and then lost consciousness. And so 3 months, 6 months later, I basically, not to be graphic, I obliterated my pelvis into multiple, beyond any kind of natural repair. So I went from being a really healthy person who was very fit into stop dead in my tracks. And the only way I could describe it was put on a roller coaster that I hadn't chosen to go on and that I couldn't get off. And it was like a dance. I remember looking at notes. So suddenly stopped in my tracks on the flat of my back in hospital. My poor mother didn't know she was away and she came back and was brought into me. I was incredibly, incredibly lucky because I really damaged myself quite badly. And I was incredibly lucky that I hadn't, my head was swollen and everything. And I wasn't, I perhaps didn't, they let me walk into the ambulance. And I don't think they realized the ambulance man came back at 3 a.m. in the A&E and he went, really? You scored that pain 4 out of 10. I was like, I might have been a bit off my head at the time. So I ended up anyway in Connolly, Tala, Clontarf. I ended up 3 months in wheelchair, couldn't walk, two surgeries, a lot of metal. So anyway, the good news was that I realized from all of this, not only, I always kind of thought I was a bit weak. I used to get panic attacks as a kid and stuff like that. And I thought I was a bit weak. And I discovered through this that I have this unbelievable strength and this resilience. And that actually the one thing I didn't suffer from before the accident was gratitude. And I was incredibly grateful for everything that I had, not what I didn't have. And it really focused my mind with regard to, you do not know what's around the corner. So get on with it. So long story short, went from the wheelchair, sold the house, had to wheel myself out into the patio when people came to view the house. And Ken has been an absolute rock in my life. Ken and I went and we eventually found Martinstown Lodge. So there you go.
Do you know what? Unbelievable. Did not see that coming. Did not see that coming. You see, here's the challenge, Emma Jane, and thanks for bringing us there. Thanks for bringing us all the way through. It's wonderful roller coaster ride of stories. Fantastic, right? Because it's very full. It's very full, right? But here's the challenge. This is why we invite people to go there on the Coffee 11 show. People meet you today like we're doing now. If you hadn't gone there, we'd never know that. We just see this strong, independent woman, right? And you are, right? But isn't it wonderful to know the backstory, ladies and gentlemen? Would you agree? Wonderful to know the backstory because it gives everybody a view. Oh, there we go. Thanks, Eamon. Eamon's our roll it there, Colette man. And well, that's the Martinstown Lodge. Looks wonderful stuff. We'll all have to take a trip there. The Coffee 11 show should do an outside broadcast from Martinstown Lodge.
You are more than welcome, and be careful what you wish for because you'll be getting an invite.
Yeah, no, we'll make that happen. We'll make that happen in season 5. How's that? Great stuff, Eamon. Thank you for that. You can bring us back into the cafe. Wonderful stuff. Thank you. Come here, a couple of things. You threw me. Right?
So the horse.
Yeah, exactly like the horse. You said you had an innate, two things. You said you had an innate fear of failure, which did not come through any of the story. I mean, you were hiding that very well, for sure, to do what you did. But then you said, I thought I was weak. Where did that come from?
Again, my job now as a coach and as a leader in what I do is to actually help people get out of their own way. Yes, I'm a strong person. Yes, I'm a happy person. But by God, we all have bad days, and we all have days where, you're going to think you're going to be found out as an imposter in what you do. And I don't know one woman actually who wouldn't go, yeah, I know what you're talking about. So, again, I'm such a bulldozer. Basically, I think that I will push my way through anything. And what I've learned in life is not to push myself through to the cost of myself. And again, as I mentioned, Ken, my partner, he has really balanced me and helped me learn that actually you don't have to rip off the sticking plaster. You don't have to be the best and the strongest at everything. Actually, you know what? You can have crap days. You can have days where it's not great. So, as a kid, I said I used to have panic attacks. I got a lot of help to get through them. And again, I think it's because I set the bar so high for myself that I never reached it. So I've learned to bring that back.
Wow, wow, wow. You've learned to give yourself a break.
Quite literally, yeah.
Yes.
And being brought to a halt again, you know, we look at everybody and we don't know what's going on with anybody else. And but the one thing that really brought it to me was you cannot control what happens in life. The only thing you can control is how you think about it and what you do with it. And I had a choice after my accident. When I came home after 3 months of hospital, I came home and I sat on the couch and I cried all day. And then I went, right. Ken was like, you can't keep going like this. And I went, right, I have a choice. I'm either going to sink or I'm going to swim. So guess what?
Fantastic. Fantastic. Beautiful. Thanks, Tim Kelly. Strength oozes out of you. It's just wonderful to witness. Martinstown Lodge today, if people are looking for it, Eamon has put the links into the chat there, which is great. But what type of individuals or groups are you looking for to avail it?
So with Martinstown Lodge, it's equine supported leadership and team development. And the work is it's like all of this story that I've told you come together. It's the most powerful transformational work that I have ever seen. And I'm shocked, as somebody who's been around horses all my life, the impact that the horses are having on people. So we've two facets of the business, which is growing. The 1.5 employees. That's the pony, by the way. Didn't want to tell you that. That's the 0.5. So the business is going to grow, and we're really ambitious for it. And fundamentally, the ambition for the business is sharing the beauty of Martinstown Lodge and the beauty of countryside and the beauty of the animals supported with coaching. And we feel so privileged to have actually found and secured a place like this that we want to share it with people, with businesses, with individuals, with entrepreneurs, to bring them out, to really help them get out of their own way. Working with the horses, it's incredibly powerful. The horses mirror your behavior, and they connect with your authentic self. It's just, if you look at the reviews, that's all I can tell you. There's no point me saying, if you look at the reviews on Facebook and look at the reviews on Google, they speak for themselves, the impact on people. So then the second facet of the business is social farming. So it goes back to my roots about community and inclusion and development. So I have signed up, myself and Ken have signed up to social farming. It's a movement in Ireland that looks at connecting people who perhaps have mental health issues, disabilities, older adults, connecting them back with nature and farming, and bringing them out and working with them based on what they want to achieve out onto the farm and connecting them with that. And I also want to work with young women, teenage girls, working with the horses again, to actually help them on their transformational journey. And it's a word I could throw out, but I'm really passionate about transformational, not transactional. This is not about making money, bringing corporates out and, doing churn. This is making a difference in people's lives. And from what I've seen so far, that's what we're actually managing to achieve.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Shelley. I see Shelley started the Bull bus there. Come here, it's lovely. You're speaking our language, me and Shelley. Wigwam, as you know, that's how you and I connected through Lisa. And we like to believe we're also doing 100-year work in our own way. But you are absolutely. I love that fact that you're working with teenage girls in particular. I think a lot of my work over the last number of years has been involved in social disadvantage, as it happens, through school lunches. And so we've seen firsthand for 18 years now the challenges, and they are many. And Warren Buffett talks about the ovarian lottery. It's completely beyond our power as individuals, the circumstances we're thrown into. But we arrive on this planet in a certain set of circumstances. And in certain circumstances, there's a sort of a predestiny attached to social disadvantage, right? For example, that it's just expected that the cycle will continue, that there's no way out. I'm clearly paraphrasing and I'm generalizing, I accept all that, but I think it's fair to say it appears that way. So it's only when somebody zooms in from outside, I don't mean zooms in like this, but comes in from the outside and shows individuals a different way, that they have an opportunity to step back and think, well, there actually might be a different way. And in particular, teenage girls in areas of social disadvantage, certain areas in North Dublin where I come from, and it's expected that if they go out with a guy, they get pregnant. It's expected. That's how they demonstrate love. And if that relationship finishes in 6 months, they go out with another guy, and it's expected that they'll have a child with this other guy. And so you can see the fragmentation that creates. So to get, in particular, young women into an environment like that, to show them and teach them how to look after themselves, that is intergenerational work. That is 100-year work. That will, stem the tide, change the direction. I just think it's wonderful. So let me honor you and applaud you and support you any way we can. All right, come here. We're going to go to many people's favorite part of the show in just a moment, Princess Shelley. But before we go there, Emma Jane, I'd like to ask you 2 quick questions, if I may. First question is, what are you taking with you from COVID that you've refound in COVID?
I think what we found in COVID is that when you strip everything back and there is nothing, then it comes back to the essence of why we're here and what we're here to do. And COVID has allowed me to reflect and reframe our future and build now our new future moving forward. So I think that's really, for me, on a personal level, that's what's enabled.
Lovely stuff. I love that question because everybody's coming to the answer from their own perspective, and we've all found or refound something in COVID. So thank you, Emma Jane. And then the last question before we go to Princess Shelley is, you bump into somebody that you've either known in the past or indeed have just gotten to know recently, but it becomes very obvious to you that this person is struggling because of COVID, because of the constant lockdown and all the rest of it. What's your one piece of advice?
I think my one piece of advice is that resilience and tapping in. Again, it's a word that's thrown around a lot, but really we all have it. We have unending resources within ourselves. Reach out for help. It's okay to not feel okay. And basically that resilience is within all of us. And it's really important to remind people of that as well, and that we're here for them. I think it's really important not to forget about people who do suffer from loneliness and isolation. And that's whether it's COVID or not COVID, because you can be lonely when you're in a crowd. I know. Very pointed,
very pointed. Thank you, Emma Jane. Thank you for being so honest here today on the Coffee at 11 show. It's been our pleasure. Thanks, Donald O'Leary there, with Bula Bus there. It's been our pleasure having you here and having the chat. Princess Shelley, what's been going on in the cafe?
So many lovely comments I get to share this morning. Thank you everyone for being in the cafe and sharing your comments. And Emma, thank you for such a wonderful and rich conversation with Colm. You've just kept us all smiling and laughing, and the imagery, the stories you've brought us through. I'll kick off the comments. Ger White was laughing at the story about your first horse, that they'd gone off somewhere shopping, apparently, with inverted commas, and you had us on, and Ger was like, oh my God, that's so funny about the first horse. And I saw lots of laughing, and this is why we refer to the Coffee at 11 show and the fact that it's a cafe you're in right now. It's not, we're not in a computer screen, we're not at a Zoom meeting or anything like that. It's a cafe, and you and Colm have just been chatting and we've been listening in, and Ger had a little giggle there at the story you were sharing about the first horse. So Joanne Callahan, who as a recent guest on the show, lovely to have had you here, Joanne. Joanne says she loves your daughter's problem-solving skill. Colm, so this was for you actually, Colm, regarding where to put the horse, that she didn't lick that off a stone when she had asked you about, that's easy, over there by the church where the other one goes. So she said, yeah, she could see, I suppose, the apple didn't fall far from the tree that day when she came up with such a succinct solution. And I can agree with you there, Joanne, on that. I would agree. Mary McNamara, who is here in the cafe. Mary, so delighted you've joined us in the cafe today. And she said, and this is often something, because there's so many that access the replay, like Emma, this will go out on Sunday week, Emma Jane, this will go out on Sunday week, and we don't know who accesses it, you see. We never know. We only know how many people it goes to. And Mary McNamara just said, gosh, I'm so glad I logged on here. This is so uplifting, great for the soul, class. And that's just it. And it's you being here, Mary, along with so many others that join us each week. And we'd love to have you here any week, any Friday that we're doing the Coffee 11 show. It's fabulous to have you here. And thank you for your comment. And then Ger White, coming in on the back of Mary's comment, said, this program and laughter is just the best laugh I've had in ages. It's so, so lovely. And it's your stories, Emma. You peppered them with, you know, your approach, and tenacity is something that kept cropping up for me when I was hearing, you know, you just approach everything with this grit and tenacity that I would certainly like to aspire to. And that's what you're doing today here with us. So thank you for that. And then Tim, our resident pup, and when I say author of Terrible Friday Joke, I don't even think we can credit that, but the one who gets to share it each week. Tim said, "That's it, Mary. Great vibes in the cafe each Friday. Great to have you here." So then your sister popped in then, Emma Jane, when we spoke about the rings in your nose, you know, and she said bull ring. So, and like Lisa's camera went off for a little while. I can see she's joined us now. But having shared a few Zoom meetings with Lisa, I could imagine the face she pulled when she shared that comment as your sister. So I can even see her face there now. So I'm glad you've zoomed back in, Lisa. I can see you're on your way somewhere. But yes, bull ring was her comment on the nose piercing. So Ger White, then you told us about your refusal, how you ended up the segue into foresting, and she said, "Thank goodness you refused to dissect the animals." So that really resonated with her, Emma Jane. And Eamon Smith said, "Bulls, horses, blue hair, getting daddy fired. That was the poutine that you took into school. Just my kind of sheltered life experience," which is on Eamon. And I couldn't agree with you more, Eamon. I mean, it just rock and roll lifestyle par excellence is what that sounds like. I mean, a teenager, like you should have ended up on the wrong side of the tracks, like, and here we are now, this lady who's in charge of this massive budget, inspiring and facilitating so much good across the country. And how you got there through those is just fantastic. And we love that you've been here today and shared it. Tim really liked that you stood up for your beliefs and your refusal to dissect the animals. Sarah Ward asked, and you might unmute and share with us, when you took the poutine into school, Emma Jane, was there kids falling over? She said, were they all tipsy? What?
Oh, no, it was only a little bit. It's only a little bit. No, sure, we're hardened drinkers at that stage. Poutine wasn't going to push us over the edge. No, I'm joking, Mom. I'm joking. We didn't drink. No, we were giddy teenage girls who were like, ooh, off our heads. But no, we weren't. No, all safe. Nobody was hurt in the making of the scan.
I could see there, as you said, do you know, it's so great to have your mom in the cafe, and she's got this fabulous umbrella behind her. We'll invite you in a minute, Dorothy. And when you said, "Oh, I swear we weren't, I'm only joking, ma'am," all I could see was the umbrella kind of beginning to oh. So yes, thank you for that, Emma Jane. So there we had, once again, then we've Mary, who said she does watch the show back on Facebook, but it's so different being here live. She's loving it, so that's just fantastic. Joanne said, you were such a strong-willed child, Emma Jane, like a majestic wild horse, LOL, and it never left you to this day. So refreshing, and you're full of magic, what every child needs. Isn't that a lovely comment, Emma Jane?
Well, that's gorgeous. Thank you. Really, really nice. I did, you know, I was quite a challenge. Mom actually said I was one of the most difficult children she had. And it wasn't because I was bold, it's because I was so strong-willed. But, you know, our greatest quality can be our greatest weakness if it goes into overdrive. So thank you so much for that.
So Amanda Malloy then said that she had to shovel one day and push the van up a hill. So do you want to tell us about that, Emma Jane?
Amanda was out with me in Scotland, and she experienced the ice would be about a foot thick on the roads, and she would have to come out and help me, like either dig the car out or help me get up a hill and just hope for the best, aim and just speed. So yeah, she was there.
Amanda, thanks for your comment, and thank you for being here today for this conversation. Ger really liked what you'd said, and Cullum said this as well. Pick a drain and follow it. Love that tip. She's always getting lost. So yeah, you could have actually spared one of us from that. And Eamon, like you used one of his bedrock lines there, and as soon as you said it, I heard it. Respect is earned, not automatically given. So Eamon appreciated that, and he also liked when you said, "I never listened to myself." That was after you'd had the fall, and you kind of realigned things, you kind of reassessed things in your journey that you were on and where you wanted to go. So then Ger, so much love for the show today, which is great. I think we've only got 2 left. Is it 2 or 3 left? Ger said, "I love this show. I have to say, us Irish, we're amazing. So much talent and freshness and beauty and drive." So I'm going to assume the beauty is me and the drive is Colin, but hey, let's just we'll guess. But thanks for the comment, Ger. Really, really great, and we're loving the love on the show. Really, really great. Joanne popped in again then and said, you're such a free spirit. I love your enthusiasm, your energy and your commitment to your values. And that comes through in all your stories today, Emma Jane. Your values are absolutely titanium values and your commitment to them is admirable, you know. Ger asked if you worked with horses, but Colm kind of covered that with the beautiful Martinstown. I'm very excited at the prospect of being able to come to you on location from there. Eamon popped in all the links then, Emma Jane, where we can find you on Instagram, Facebook, the LinkedIn and martinstownlodge.ie. So as Colm says, we will and we'll go to your social media platforms and we'll find out a little bit more about you. Now we know the person behind what it is that we're looking at, which is really important. Ger was saying, you'd said about the imposter syndrome. And, you know, I could totally relate to what you were saying. And you were saying how you don't know of anybody that isn't aware of this in periods and bouts. And Ger popped in then and said, oh no, I wanted at least one Coffee at 11 show with no tears, because I suppose you could relate to that. And then Kat said, maybe next week, Ger, maybe next week. That's the editor-in-chief. Because every week like that, we go somewhere, there's always some part of the story where we go there. So Donald then, I'm coming to the end, I swear. This always happens, you see. There's 7 new messages come in since I started this, you see. So I actually don't know where I'm going now. Donald O'Leary, it's lovely to have you here, Donald. The show, there would be a Donald-shaped hole if you weren't here at this stage. It's such an integral cog at this stage. He said, life is a daring adventure or nothing at all. Approach to life and living. Great, clear narrative, peppered with stop on your track comments like optimism and consistence. Dad had to resign. Mom took to the bed for a few days. An alternative Dublin girl to Forest Foreman. What a life. What an adventure. Isn't that lovely? Emma Jane, you have to remark to that while I just have a little look at these next few comments that are there.
That is so lovely. Thank you. And, you know, I haven't told you the half of it about the 1,000-kilometre hitching through Africa, but we won't go there.
Bring you back again, I'd say, Emma Jane.
But no, thank you. And you know what? Life is an adventure. And when I had my accident, I realised you got to get on and live it. And you got to go for what you believe in. And you've got to at least try to fulfill your dreams. And you never know. You never know what you're going to get. I did not know I was going to be living in Athboy. But by God, am I glad I am now. So go for it. Absolutely go for it.
Love that. Absolutely love that. Great response to a really great comment. Thank you, Donald. Amanda then popped back in and said, absolutely amazing. Well done. Just loved listening today. What a beautiful story and so well told. What a journey. So then Colin popped in his, and I'm glad I've got this because I've heard him say this before, DBMPBMS, and I can never roll it off without reading it. Don't bring me problems, bring me solutions. So I'm trying to adopt that one into my vernacular. It's a bit of a tongue twister. That's so true, Colin. Mary McNamara says, Emma Jane, your early life is full of funny stories. Thank you for the laughter. You're an amazing free spirit and an inspiration. So so thank you very much for that. And then Ger White said, I'll cry next week as well, even with the poems, because as Katrina just said, ladies and gentlemen, Ger is next week's guest. So her optimism for not crying for next week might not necessarily be so optimistic. Ger, we're looking forward to hearing you next week. So she's just popped in there, LOL. Emma Jane, thank you for your conversation and your patience. So many wonderful comments. And as we say, it really is you being here. As Colin has often said, it could just be a conversation between Colin and Emma Jane that goes out to a potential massive audience of 18 million, and we never know. But it's you being here that makes it the really, really scrumptious place to be, and thank you very, very much. Colm, with that, I'm delighted to hand back to you. Thank you, Emma Jane.
Thank you.
Oh, well, you can see, Emma Jane, why that is many people's favourite part of the show, and it's certainly one of mine, because while you and I are having the conversation, I'd like to believe that I'm in the conversation with you. So I don't see any of those comments, don't hear any of them, but as Shelley said, and I do think this is the wonderful thing about the Coffee 11 show, which, by the way, is COVID born. It's just an idea. We'd have a chat with somebody, bring a few people in to have a listen. But it has turned into this really scrumptious, I'm turning to Shelley here, scrumptious place where people are sitting earwigging to our conversation. We're sitting in the corner, right? And then they're sort of saying, did you hear that? And they're dropping in there. And that's what makes it beautiful and rich, enriches it. Dorothy. In case you thought you were getting away scot-free, you're not. You have to unmute there. Here we go. Dorothy, you're very welcome. Welcome back.
Thank you, Colm. It was absolutely lovely to see the show this morning, and I'm thrilled that Emma Jane is getting a chance to share her confidence and her ability with people who are not have it but don't know they have it. Okay, I know that sounds a little bit unarticulate, but I am a bit overcome. You have to forgive me. But it was great to hear her tell her story and tell it so well articulated. And I should have had that, Brandy. I knew it.
Dorothy, it's so lovely to see you again. We met you last year.
Thank you, Con. Thank you.
When your other daughter was on the Coffee at 11 show.
That's right, indeed. Yes.
And
yes.
I tell you what I'm intrigued by. Every time we meet you, you're under an umbrella because the sun is splitting the stones. What's the story?
Yes, in Dalkey. Yeah, it's absolutely boiling. And yeah, so I've been sitting here sort of totally wrapped. Forgot about the umbrella, but it worked anyway. But it was great to see. I'm so proud of Emma. She's done such a lovely job, and I wish her every success with her new venture. I just know she's going to help so many people, you know. So thank you for giving her the opportunity.
Oh, come here. We just turn up. It's just lovely. But Dorothy, thank you for that. It's so lovely to see you again. And
thank you.
It's great to see you year on, you're hale and hearty and all that great stuff.
Yeah.
But come here, you must be very proud. We've so far had 2 of your offspring on the
I know, they're just great. And I was just thinking this morning how lovely it is that they're all so close together and they help each other. Lisa, Emma, Jane, Amanda, Connor and Philip. And that's a very important thing, to have closeness in a family, to help each other and cooperate with each other. And we're all very, very proud of Emma with her wonderful achievements and her courage to get through what she's got through. I mean, she played down the Scottish forestry bit, but she went through a very bad time, you know, because of her being a woman. Yeah. But she succeeded despite the odds, and it's great to feel now that she can pass on her experience to other women, and indeed men, but women particularly, because we seem to need that bit of help and to have our confidence there, you know. So
fabulous.
Great.
And come here, if I may honour you, yeah. Dorothy, and Emma Jane's dad, because you guys have started the 100-year work that Emma Jane is now taking forward. That's the point. You know, it's a lovely way of expressing this, because you know, she said, I'm so grateful to Mum and Dad for the hard work ethic and the self-belief that they engendered in me. So well done you. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for that lovely compliment.
I look forward to the next of your children coming to the Coffee 11 show. We've got to figure out what.
Oh yes, indeed. Yeah, there's 3 more to go, you know.
Maybe we should just do the Dorothy show. Maybe that.
Oh, please.
Right there. Okay.
Oh, that could go on too long, you know. We'll like my life.
Dorothy, come here. It's always a pleasure. You mind yourself. God bless.
Yes. Thank you, Con. Thank you.
We'll mute you down and invite Lisa in. If you're able to come in, Lisa.
I think I've made her cry, so I think it's probably better. She is frozen.
Is that a box ticked? I made Lisa cry.
It's any consolation. I'm sorry, I know I shouldn't, but another text has come in from my other sister saying she's bawling crying as well. So I'm delighted now I've made everybody cry. That's my job done for the day now. I can go back to bed.
I love it. Well done you. Well done you. And so Amanda Malloy is in the room. Is that Amanda your sister, or is that Amanda your friend?
That is Amanda, my sister. We're infiltrating in many ways.
Amanda, come in. It's lovely to meet you.
Oh my God. I used to get the ferry over. I don't know. I must have been maybe 15, and I used to take off 16. I'd take off on the ferry and I'd get the train up to Emma and I'd go off on this adventure. And I had the pleasure of being absolutely terrified within an inch of my life one day, going up in this tiny little Scotland woodland forestry van and going up this track up the side of a mountain with no protection on the roads, nothing. It's just you go off the track, you're off the mountain. And we started to skid, and Emma said, okay, right, out you hop, and start shoveling. And I wanted to say I was terrified is an understatement. So we were out with the shovel, but the ground was so frozen, like it was frozen solid. And then, you know, she took over a bit of the shoveling, and then I'm trying to help push the car while she's driving, and, you know, determination and sheer grit, literally, up we went. And it is the whole story, the life story is determination and grit.
John, it's amazing. It's amazing. And even your determination to get out of the car and come on the conversation. Thank you for that. Dorothy, it runs in the veins of these children, these women, these very strong women.
Oh, I'm delighted.
It's wonderful.
I'm just going to unload these 3 children.
Listen, Amanda, it's lovely to have met you. Thank you for that.
Well done, Emma. It was superb.
Take care.
Thanks, Colin.
Bye-bye. Stay safe. Lisa, back to you.
Oh yeah, I'm so proud of Emma. I mean, she's incredible. She downplays everything. Her recovery from that accident was something else, and she came back stronger than ever. She's so focused and determined, and she's such, aside from being so talented and experienced, she's so generous in every way as well. And I'm just very, very proud and so happy to call her my sister. And also, she paid tribute to my parents. Sadly, our father died quite young, in his 50s, a long time ago, and he's always missed. But he would be so proud of her too. And my mom, she's just incredible. As you can tell, she's instilled a lot of really good values in all of us, and we're a very close family. The others would have been on here, but unfortunately, timings don't always work for people. That's just the way it goes. But her new business is phenomenal. I've been out there and experienced it, and it's mind-blowing is the word that comes to mind for me. I did a few of the exercises with Emma Jane, and it's really about self-discovery for me. The horses, it's just incredible. And you laugh at this, Colin, because you know me well, and you know that I'm a very giving person, shall we say. And it came out through the horses. This horse was, nudging me, and I thought it was kind of nice. It was being friendly. But eventually he took it too far and gave me quite a big push with his head. And through the chat with Emma then, I self-discovered that, it's boundaries. And, that I let people go a little bit too far. And, so in terms of coaching, I've never experienced anything like it. It was just amazing, absolutely amazing.
Well, that's phenomenal, because when you started talking about the horses, Emma Jane had said earlier, the horses mirror our behavior. They mirror who we are. So that's a wonderful story, because I absolutely know you. In fact, if you and I have ever had words, and we haven't really, but we've conversed about the fact that you just help, all the time, everybody and anybody, and often at the detriment to your own time. Certainly, we won't even mention health and well-being. Come here, Lisa. It's so lovely to see you again, and Dorothy, lovely to have had you here, and Amanda, thank you for zooming in. It's been a real family show. John Roberts, if you're there, pop in and say hello. It'd be lovely to catch up. John and I go way back. There he goes. Hey, John.
Hey, Colin. Good to see you. It's been a while. Well done, Emma Jane. That was a fantastic... I thought I knew you, but I've got a few more stories to rib you about. So that's very interesting indeed, yeah. Colin, I mean, I've kept an eye on all of these things going on. Unfortunately, I haven't had the opportunity to join you, and Emma Jane twisted a few arms, so here I am. Thanks, Emma Jane. So another win-win for everybody. I don't know what to say. Well done, Emma Jane.
Thank you. What's the connection between you guys?
Sheila Brady,
yeah,
who's gonna on camera herself maybe, is a very, very good friend of Emma Jane's. And then the other connection is Em and I have both broken some serious bones, and we chat about it. We did chat about it. We don't talk about it anymore because it's behind us. So, but yeah, there's Sheila.
Great stuff. Hey, Sheila, good to see you. Sheila,
hi, Colin, how are you? Congrats, Emma Jane. It was really brilliant, and it's amazing what Emma Jane and Ken are doing at Martinstown Lodge. So different, but really taps into their qualities as people, as well as the values that they have, which is amazing. Really good to see the insights, because like any of us that are growing our own businesses, we know it's so hard. We know the backgrounds we've all come from, whether they've been good, bad or indifferent, but the time and energy it takes us all, and yet we always have to put on that kind of friendly face that it's all going well. And it's great to see that backstory of all the challenges Emma Jane has faced, and to show that this is what everybody goes through. We just don't always get the opportunity to share these stories. So well done to both of you.
Well, thank you, Sheila. It's lovely to meet you again, and you're doing incredible work. I won't even go there, but maybe season 5. Just saying, like.
Who knows if you ask me.
We could explore. Is Donald O'Leary still in the room, or has he gone away? He's gone away, I think.
Yeah,
oh, here he is. Yeah, hey, Donald.
Hi.
Donald's our resident sage in the corner. Donald, it's lovely to see you.
Thank you. Oh, what can I say? I mean, it was probably the greatest adventure story I've heard live in person. I mean, I think I would have a touch of envy about it, actually. And I didn't have to go looking for horses as a child. They were part of my life from the time I was born. In fact, horses probably would have been my father's top interest. And I've maintained a liking for all animals, including dogs in particular and horses. But I felt that your story, Emma Jane, is a great example of going for it, following your nose, not being inhibited by what other people think, not being inhibited, not being concerned about whether you're getting other people's approval or permission or not. And I really admire people who have lived or are living a full life. And your life is the personification of a full life in my books. Thank you.
Wow. Emma Jane?
Not often I'm speechless to Donal. Thank you.
Yeah, lovely stuff, Donald. Thank you for that. Always deep and always meaningful and always meant and always rich. So thank you for that. Emma Jane Clarke, what a lovely morning. What a lovely morning. Thank you for being here on the Coffee at 11 show. It's been our privilege to hear your story and to hear it then and contextualize it with your family members being here. By the way, I felt exonerated when Lisa put in the fact about the bull ring, because that was what I was trying to get across, right? When my reference to cows and nose rings landed badly. So thank you for that, Lisa. Yeah, I'll stop digging. All right, listen, folks, it's been an absolute pleasure having you all here this morning in the Coffee at 11 show. Princess Shelley for producing today's show, big heart emoji. Thank you for that. Eamon Smith for keeping us safe and sound at that beautiful grounding moment at the start. Thank you for that. Hashtag Kerry Guru. Where's Tim Kelly for your awful Friday joke, which, by the way, are getting worse. Congratulations, you. And it's really allowing us to raise the bar of the show. Thank you for that. Katrina O'Brien in advance for all the wonderful work you do on editing this and making it beautiful to an ever-growing international audience, approaching 20 million, which is just wonderful. And of course, Emma Jane, please unmute, because the last word is going to go to you. Emma Jane Clarke, namaste.
Thank you so much. And thank you for the chat. It's just been amazing. Thank you.